Welcome into the latest episode of the Betting the Pitch Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, real_G Warner, on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. Today we're going through the Italian Serie A. 20 through 1. We'll go in the reverse order of total market value, try to get an idea of who's going to win the Scudetto or Scudetti if you won it last year or many times in the past. Anyway, that's the plan on today's episode, going through Italy from top to bottom. If you want to hear the podcast I've already done this week, did the Bundesliga last night. Also have done plenty of other leagues so far. I feel like I'm doing a million podcasts a day, but this will be the last, I think, until we get to Champions League or so. Europa League, I expect to maybe do, and Conference League looks like a bunch of teams I've never heard of and you've never heard of, but we'll maybe get into that later. Thanks for joining. Of course, if you hit subscribe, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, all would be really helpful. Want to shout out the new Patreon subscribers. We'll do that end of show. Thank you for checking that out. And of course, riding along the Major League Baseball season, which has been very good ever since a poor month of March/April. We'll start in Serie A with Cremonese. They are the lowest valued club at 60 and one quarter million euros. In terms of what they've done in the offseason, we'll get to that in a second. There are some new clubs and some new blood back in Serie A this season. So, in terms of what they've done, I guess, in the offseason, the answer is slowly loading on my computer. But Davide Nicola, what a surprise. Back as manager at Cremonese, pretty much a firefighter, always great defensively. The big question is, how do his team score goals? Appointed July 2nd of 2025, most are on the 1st. That's a little bit surprising. But in terms of what they've done in their offseason, they've brought in Warren Bondo on a 500,000 loan fee from AC Milan, Alessio Zerbin from Napoli loaned also. Federico Bashirotto in from Lecce, the longtime captain and big defensive player. Yari Vendaput has come in as a left winger for 3.3 million euros from US Catanzaro, and Emil Odero on loan from Como at goalkeeper. So those are some meaningful names. In terms of what they've lost, a bunch of guys I've never heard of before. So it makes sense. This is one of the weaker teams that's out there. We'll see what they can do to stay up in the Italian top flight. In terms of where they are, I'm trying to get my mouse to where I'm trying to look. Okay, so in terms of the relegation odds, I haven't seen much movement in anything I bet online, but to be relegated, Cremonese the favorite at minus 150. Not a surprise considering their lack of funds or squad value. Move next to LS Verona. They're currently worth about 68.18 million euros according to Transfer Market. If you're not used to it, it is a stellar German site. Currently, they are not second most likely to be relegated. That is Pisa. Instead, Verona are plus 150 to go down to Serie B. They're usually flirting around with it, potentially going down many times during a season. But Paolo Zanetti is back, and I thought that he did a good job to stay in the league. That's pretty much their goal, and we'll see what they've done in the offseason. So Victor Nelson has come in on a loan fee from Galatasaray for 650,000 euros. Amin Sarr bought for 3.5 million euros from Lyonnais, who are had to sell a lot of things. Domagoj Bragadoric is 750,000 buy from Salernitana, but I believe he was there last season. Sheikh Niasse from Young Boys Bern in Switzerland, 3.5 million euros bought. So they bought or spent a fair amount of money on a defensive midfielder and a center forward, at least from Verona standards. In terms of their departures, Jackson Sachua is gone to Wolverhampton Wanderers, a right back. Diego Coppola gone, 11 million euros, center back to Brighton. So two English Premier League players. Daniele Gilardi gone on a $2.5 million loan to Roma. They clearly didn't want to get rid of him. And Andre Duda gone to Saudi Arabia on a free transfer. Pavel Davidovic, we might come back, not with the team currently, but that's a lot of center backs gone. Two gone, a right back gone as well, and a central midfielder, former captain. So there's a lot that needs to be replaced, and that probably makes sense why they're pretty low squad valued according to transfer market. The plus 150 doesn't look so bad to be relegated because that seems to be like a lot that's being replaced. So we'll see on that one. Move next up to Lecce, 71.03 million euros in value, and have been around in the top flight in Serie A for a while now. They are as plus 225 to be relegated. That's one, two, three, four, five, fifth, tied with Cagliari. So potentially up to sixth and most likely to be relegated. So that's likely due to I guess the alphabetical order or something like that. But still, um, that says something to me about where this club's going to be, especially with Bashirotto, their forever captain center back, gone to a club already we just talked about. So Eusebio Di Francesco, he was appointed in June 2026, excuse me, June 26th of 2025. So just for the end of the season, and it's still around for at least one season, it looks like, or at least 1 year in total. They brought in Francesco Camarda on loan from Milan, Riccardo Sotil on loan from Fiorentina, is a name you'll know if you follow Serie A. Chris Owen Kouassi, don't know that one. He is from Stade Lavoie. I don't know that. Corey Indaba from Kilmarnock, and Matias Perez from Curicó Unido. So they brought in one name I know, Ricardo Sotil. Francesco Camara, we'll see what he looks like. Milan aren't loaning players out unless they're not expected to play, most likely. So a lot to do there. In terms of departures, Nikola Kristovic, their best goal scorer, penalty kick taker, all those sort of things, gone to Atalanta. Bashirotto, I've already mentioned, gone to Cremonese. Paulo Rodriguez, gone for 1.2 million euros. He is off to Lech Poznan. I can't say I know him, though, I must say. And Ante Rebic on a free transfer to Hajduk Split, who is probably their top striker off the bench. So those are some losses there. Specifically, Kristovic, that's a big one to Atalanta. They don't make mistakes on what they're doing. And Lecce at plus 225 to be relegated doesn't seem like an incredible long shot at the third least valued squad in Serie A in the top flight of Italy. Move next to Pisa Sporting Club. They're valued at about 83.5 million euros. Currently, Pisa are on their way up from Serie B. Haven't seen them in Serie A since I've been following. And Alberto Gilardino is managing, appointed July 1st of 2025. He's been around, I want to say most recently at Genoa. But in terms of what they've done in the offseason is they brought in some players. Michel Abecher, on loan from Bologna, and Bala Nzola on loan from Fiorentina, Isaac Vural, I don't know that name, but from Frosinone, Henrik Meister from Stade Rennes, and that's all the names that seem to be worth highlighting. In terms of what they've lost, no names that I really know much about, so we'll see. I mean, I expected a club to be a lot more valuable based on how highly they're valued, but they haven't really bought a ton of big players. Certainly have brought in some names like Enzola and of course also Abisher, who's a good midfielder from his Bologna days, but also showing up Juan Cuadrado at 37 years young. We'll see how much he plays. And I think there's still plenty of questions about this club, to say the least, especially on their climb up to Serie A from Serie B. Simone Schiuffè from Calorie is there, goalkeeper, which adds some experience at 29 years old. But I don't know how much better this team is. Fourth least valued club in Italy, and they're currently minus 125 to be relegated. So money doesn't always talk, but does a little bit there. We move next to Cagliari Calcio. They are 95 or so million euros in squad value. And for their new manager, they have brought in Fabio Pisacane, 39 years old, appointed in June of 2025. In terms of what they've done in the offseason, Roberto Piccoli has arrived from Atalanta for 12 million euros. Semi Kulishoy from Besiktas on loan, another center forward. Ilia Caprile, 8 million euro buy from Napoli. Sebastiano Esposito on loan from Inter, who was previously on loan at Empoli. Gianluca Gaetano, Neapolitan, a Napoli player, attacking midfielder, 6 million euros. So they spent a fair amount of money. What they've lost, Nadir Zortea gone to Bologna, right midfielder, for 7.5 million euros. Antoine Mokumbu, defensive midfield, he's gone to what looks like something Saudi or something. Samsunspor in Turkey. Razvan Marin gone to IK Athens in Greece, defensive midfielder. Pantelis Hadziakos, he's gone to Copenhagen, and Simon Scuffet, who just mentioned, is off to Pisa. So they spend a lot of money. They really haven't sold incredible players, I don't think. So that's, I think, a good sign for Cagliari staying up. They're currently plus 225 to be relegated. They seem a little bit safer to me than most, especially spending 18 million more euros than they sold. But we'll see how many more transfers they make and if that number stays that way. We'll move next to Genoa. They're currently valued at 132 million euros, 40 million or so euros more than Cagliari and the other four clubs below them. So now we're getting into much loftier territory. Genoa plus 350 to be relegated. That seems like a bit of a surprise. See if there's anything. We do have top six finishes, so that might be interesting. Genoa 20 to 1 to finish top six. So I'm not sure that's going to be that interesting. But anyway, we'll go back to the squad and to manager. So Patrick Vieira is still around. They were great defensively, but they've only sold players 52 million euros in what they've sold so far. On loan, they brought in Valentin Carboni, attacking midfielder from Inter. Albert Grönbeck on loan from Rennes. Leo Osegard on loan from Rennes. Lorenzo Colombo on loan from Milan, the AC version, and Nicola Stanciu on a free transfer. I want to say he is Romanian. I've seen him a lot. In terms of their sales, Coni de Vinto gone to Milan for 20 million euros, formerly of Juventus. Albert Gudmundsson gone to Fiorentina, but he was already gone last year. Anas Anor, 17 million euros to Atalanta, and they've had a couple other smaller moves, I guess. Mattia Bani is the only name I really recognize. This team is really great defensively. We'll see if they can keep that up. It seems like they've brought in a lot of loanees to attack, a center forward, two attacking midfielders, or three of those actually, and center back Leo Osegard, who's a solid defender, has played around and certainly plays a lot for his international club, or I guess his nation, and that would be Norway. Like Genoa, don't really have much fear of them being relegated. We'll move next to Parma Calcio, currently worth 136.5 or so million euros. Stayed up last season, though there were some questions, but they did lose their manager to Inter Milan, if I'm not mistaken. In comes Carlos Cuesta, only 30 years old, appointed July 1st, and they've done a lot of selling, but some buying. In terms of arrivals, they brought in Mattia Frigan, a center forward from KVC Westerlo. Christian Ordonez has come in for 8.5 million euros from Velez Sarsfield, I believe, in Argentina. Oliver Sorensen, 8 million euros from Michelin. He's a good center midfielder. So all straight up the middle of the pitch, including Mariano Trujillo from Belgrano, Club Atletico Belgrano, that is, and Abdoulaye Ndiaye from or Ndiaye from Stade Troyes in France. I think I want to say Ligue 2. So fair amount of additions, all in the center of the field, center forward, center field, center midfield, center midfield, center back, center back. So that's something. In terms of departure, Giovanni Leone, pretty important center back who's left for Liverpool. Brought in 31 million euros. Great young player, and he's gone to bigger and better things. Ange Iwan Boni, gone center forward, gone to Inter Milan for 23 million euros. Simon Som, 15 million euros to Fiorentina. Dennis Mann on to PSV Eindhoven for 8.5. Was a central part of their attack last season. And Rashid Kuda, gone, don't know that name very well. So a lot has been sold. We'll see what Cuesta does, Spanish manager, and I want to say I remember him playing not so long ago, only 30 years old. And the real question is, how does this team, I guess, move forward with some big, big sales out the window, including their best center back? And that's going to be my biggest question for them. To be relegated, currently Parma plus 250. That seems like a long shot just based on the talent they have. I don't think I want to bet on them going too far though in the league. Udinese Calcio then 137 million euros, pretty close as we entered the log jam at least for one more team. In terms of Udinese, they have Maduka Okoye, their goalkeeper, suspension through the sports court. That's not great for 6 match days. In terms of their manager, Kosta Runjaic, I guess he's now listed as German. I thought he was Slovakian before. Anyway, he was appointed before last season, did really well. They were top of the table in Serie A, but that didn't last for long. In terms of their arrivals, they brought in Artur Atta from FC Metz in France. They were promoted this season from Ligue 2 to Ligue 1. Sava Goglichidze, center back from Empoli, who got relegated. Lennon Miller, 5.5 million euro central midfielder. Nicolo Patella, don't know that. Luca Kerumgard, don't know that either. So not huge, I guess, grabs, but central midfielders two of them, and a center back, so helping the spine. Departures, they've lost Lorenzo Luca on loan to Napoli for 9 million euros. Jakabijol to Leeds United in the English Premier League. Lazar Samajic gone to Atalanta. Nawen Perez gone to Porto, which those two had already happened. Florian Thauvin gone back to France to Lens. So in terms of what they've lost this year, Thauvin was playing a lot. Biol, their best captain, maybe not captain, but certainly most important defender. And their center forward, Lorenzo Luca, who one time stole the ball from the normal penalty kick taker, scored, and then was immediately subbed off. So there's probably some drama behind the scenes there for a while. Um, they've lost a fair amount in their attack and in their defense. So those are not great additions, but or things that have happened to you. But Udinese 4-1 odds to be relegated. I'm not so concerned about them. To finish top six, they are 12-1 odds. So pretty long shot there. If you think that they are going to continue to rebuild and retool. I'm not sure I agree with that. We move next to Sassuolo. They were winners of Serie B last season. We're pretty competitive in the Coppa Italia as well, and we're a long-time great rebuilding club, selling players every season, and now they're back in the big time. In terms of their manager, Fabio Grosso, appointed in June of 2024, so he's been around a couple seasons now. In terms of what they've done in arrivals, they brought in Ismail Kone from a central midfielder from Marseille in France. Jay Idzes, who was relegated with Venezia, he's come in for 8 million euros. Tarek Muharemovic, a center back from Juventus, haven't heard that name. Aryanat Muric on loan from Ipswich Town, who is a pretty good defender, goalkeeper, but don't let him kick the ball at all. And in comes Sebastian Walukiewicz on loan from Torino. So they've done a lot to build their center backs, spent 12 million euros, two buys and a loan. Also a goalkeeper. We'll see what ends up happening there with Stefano Turati as well, who's worth more than Muric and to me has been a better goalkeeper in my humble opinion. He has come in after a loan spell with Monza when Sassuolo were sent down, so or were relegated. So I imagine that's his job, but we'll see what happens there. In terms of departures, Uros Racic is gone for 3 million euros to Thessaloniki, the RS version. Toljan gone to Levante in a new team in the Spanish La Liga. And some other names I haven't really seen before. So I like the background. They've done Sassuolo have been great at building from really just selling players every season and still being very talented. In terms of relegation, they're 2-1 odds. I honestly feel like I want to see them climb up the table. A team I would like to bet on 20-1 odds to finish top six, which puts them on the same level with Cagliari, Parma, which are worth less according to the transfer markets. So that does interest me a little bit. We'll move next to Torino. Never can score goals, but here we are, always in the league. They're worth about 150 million euros. And here's what they've done in the offseason. So Marco Baroni, who has come in, appointed this July 1st, or I guess when the calendar turns over, he has come in from Lazio, where things did not end well, started great. We'll see what he can do this season. In terms of arrivals, they've bought Zakaria Abouklal, Moroccan from Toulouse. Great player. We'll see what he can do at the right wing. Also, Cyril Ngonch coming in from Napoli. Probably just not enough room for him to play there. Tino Anjorin on loan from Empoli. Same as Ardian Ismaili from the same place. So, and Franco Israel, a goalkeeper, has come in from Porto. So to me, they've done a fair amount to build with two good, talented right wingers who I've seen and looked very good in the past. They brought an attacking midfielder from Empoli, a usual starting center back from Empoli, and a goalkeeper. But they've lost a really important Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, gone for 50 million euros to Napoli, and that's a big deal. Samuele Walukiewicz has gone on loan to Napoli. They really only replaced him with Ismaili, who's not to me anything at the same level, in my humble opinion. Antonio Sanabria gone to Cremonese as well, who I haven't mentioned. Oops, I forgot that one. And probably the biggest, Samuele Ricci, gone 23 million euros purchased by Milan. So that's a decent loss there, to say the least. So what they've built is something. They've certainly spent some money, but they've sold a lot. and they're going to miss one of the best goalkeepers in Serie A, a center back who I think is valuable, but I guess has been moving around in recent seasons, and Samuele Ricci, who's been a really important piece in the midfield. So I'm a little concerned about Torino to start. Never really could score goals. Their defense has never been great. But in terms of relegation pricing, they are at 6.5 to 1, which is a little bit longer odds, but I think I might need more than that based on their long-standing history in Serie A. Move next to Como, almost 100, or actually more than 100 million euros more valuable than Torino, and that's going to be the big question: is can they avoid a sophomore slump and have a good second season in Serie A? So we'll start with their manager, should be Cesc Fabregas. He's still there, 38 years old, appointed June of 2024. They've spent a lot of money and they have not sold much, so those are good signs. They stole Jesus Rodriguez from Real Betis. Awesome move. Martin Baturina coming in from Dinamo Zagreb as well in Croatia. Nicholas Kuhn from Celtic, I believe, and Jaden Adai from AZ Alkmaar, Maximo Perrone from Manchester City. They've spent a lot of money, and they're all players I've heard of and seem pretty decent. In terms of departures, they've lost Gabriel Strefezza, who's a big part of them coming up from Serie B. He's gone to Olympiacos in Greece. Alio Federa has gone to on loan to Sassuolo. Not sure that's a big deal. Aldero, backup goalkeeper, gone to Cremonese. Belemo and Ionu. I can't say I know those names very well. So to me, this team is going to be good. They were good last year. The market loved them. Top six finish for Como plus 185. So that's not really as big of a number as I'd like. Top four, a little more sexy, but certainly a lot harder. 5 to 1 odds to be relegated. I'll just say it. I don't really expect it to happen. 33 to 1. I like their chances to stay in the league and perform well. They might be more of a team I bet each week. Move next to Bologna. They've done some business for sure, worth about 270 million euros. Currently, they are managed by Vincenzo Italiano, who came in and I thought did a fairly good job with that club last season, and ultimately taking over in their first. Basically, they made it to Champions League, lost their manager, lost all their players, so that was pretty important. They've sold a lot though, and we'll have to say that. So in terms of rivals, what they've brought in, center back from Sparta Prague, and Martin Vitic. Tomaso Pobega is on loan from Milan, former player for Bologna, if I'm not mistaken. Jorborn Hegem has come in as center back from West Bromwich Albion for 7.5 million euros. Nadir Zortea in from Cagliari, 7.5 million euros. And Nicola Casale from Lazio, center back. So they've basically brought in three new center backs, a central midfielder, and that's probably to recover some losses. And Ehrlich gone to Michelin for 5 million euros. Not a huge loss, but a name that's been around. Michel Abisher, we mentioned, is on loan to Pisa in midfield. Sam Bukama is gone for 31 million euros to Napoli. That's a big loss, and that's probably why they spent a lot on center backs. And Dan Ndoye gone to Nottingham Forest for 42 million euros in the English Premier League. So they've done a lot of business. Certainly bought some and brought in and retooled a little bit. They definitely lost a lot, and that's something to consider, especially when thinking about their to be relegated price is gigantic, 41 odds. Top four finished 5 to 1, and their top six is currently plus 160. Move up to Lazio. They are valued at 276 million euros or so. They are, of course, onto a new manager as things started off so well for Lazio last year and then fell apart. And of course, guess who's back? Maurizio Sarri and his negative football, which I guess Lazio just continually wants to play. Arrivals, they brought in Nicola Rovella, who's already playing at Lazio, so that doesn't say much. Nuno Tavares already playing at Lazio as well. Dele Bashiru also playing at Lazio as well. Luca Pellegrini also playing at Lazio. So Samuel Gigo. So they've done really nothing except what they had last year on that team. Loum Chauna has gone to Burnley for 15 and change million euros. Nicolo Casale gone to Bologna. And then other names. Castrovilli is a famous one, but he wasn't doing much. So not a lot of moves there, except for losing a right winger in Chauna. And Casale, I guess he's a somewhat important center back, but not that important to me, I don't think. Um, in terms of the numbers for Lazio, so top six finished, they are plus 160. Same price as Bologna, a little bit cheaper than Como. Top four finished, Lazio plus 450. I don't really see that happening. Lazio to be relegated 25 to 1. Don't think that's going to occur either, but I'm not really a believer in Lazio this year so far, based on what I just disclosed. We'll move next to Fiorentina, worth about 4 million euros more or so. Three and a half, one and a half, actually. What am I doing? Math's not going. But Fiorentina, they are forever looking to improve. And they had a new manager come in last season and it didn't last. And now they're on to Stefano Pioli, the former Milan manager who just never was good enough despite winning Scudetto for Milan when they were clearly not the best team in Italy. In terms of arrivals, Nicola Fagioli coming in from Juventus, Albert Gudmundsson from Genoa, Simon Som from Parma, Jacopo Fazzini from Empoli, Robin Gosens from Union Berlin. A lot of those were already playing. In terms of departures, Nico Gonzalez already gone to Juventus. Coyote gone to Brentford, which is meaningful, and I think he's going to start for Brentford this season. Sofian Amrabat gone to Fenerbahce. Mbala Nzola gone to Pisa. Sotil gone to Lecce. So they've lost some players. Coyote probably being the most important, but really haven't done much movement, I don't think. And we'll see if Moise can have the same type of year. In terms of where Fiorentina stacked to win Serie A, 66 to 1. In terms of to be relegated, 33 to 1. In terms of to finish top four, 5 to 1. And top six, they are, let's see, they are 2 to 1 odds. So longer than Como, Lazio, and Bologna, which does seem interesting to me. Pioli seemed to be a pretty good manager. I wouldn't hate on him and his performances. And I feel like sixth place might be a reasonable place to finish. You just got to finish ahead of one of these two six teams that are I guess, valued more than them. About 80 million euros to climb to get to, or excuse me, 100 million euros to climb to get to Roma. So Roma, they forever had a lot of drama. I mean, sacked their manager 4 matches into last season, and it was a disaster. But in comes Gianpiero Gasparini from Atalanta, one of the best managers out there, certainly combative, but he's been great. Arrivals, they brought in Leon Bailey on loan from Aston Villa, Evan Ferguson on loan from Brighton, Wesley on $25 million purchase from Flamengo in Brazil, Neil El Ayanui from Lens in France for 23.5 million euros purchase, Daniele Gilardi inning from Hellas Verona for 2.5 million euros. Those are some big expenditures there. The biggest buys are right back and center midfielder, and they've brought some well-known players on loan. Terms of departures, they lost Enzo Lefebvre, wasn't playing much to Sunderland for 23 million euros. Frenchman gone to Sunderland in the Premier League. Tommy Abraham gone to Besiktas for 2 million euros on loan. He was a backup striker for them, sometimes playing, but a lot of times hurt. Nikola Zalewski gone to Inter, but that already happened. Samuel Dahl gone to Benfica in Portugal, and Marash Kumbula gone on loan to Mallorca in Spain. So, they've lost some, but not really incredible pieces. And honestly, I mean, I'm very curious to see what Paulo Dybala does at 31 years old. He was, I thought, gone to Saudi Arabia last year. That didn't happen. Stefan El Shawari is not a big name, but has been so good for the club. And the Dovbik Ferguson probably can't play together, but those are some good strikers that they have. Roma to finish top six, they are currently minus 180. Finish top four, plus 125. They are not we're talking about getting relegated, but to win Serie A, 12 to 1 odds. And I gotta say, I love Gian Piero Gasparini. I think he's a great manager, and I think he's gonna mess some people up. Move next to Napoli. They're currently valued 457 million euros, about 80 or so more than Roma. They won the league last year, and they are favored to win this year plus 160. Big surprise was keeping Antonio Conte after winning the Scudetto, 2 and 3 seasons, I believe, for Napoli, with a 10th place finish in between. So we'll see how this one goes. Then a lot of buying, a lot of selling. Okay, top arrival, Sam Bukema, center back from Bologna, 31 million euros. Noah Long coming in on left wing or left back from PSV Eindhoven. Lorenzo Luca, center forward on loan from Udinese. Kevin De Bruyne, big name on a free transfer. We'll see what they can get out of him. And Miguel Gutierrez, 18 million euros from Girona, a left back. So they spent a lot on a center back, a left winger, a left back, and they brought in one of the biggest stars in all of world football to potentially create for them in whatever minutes he can play. Biggest departures, Victor Osimhen gone for 75 million euros to Galatasaray, but that happened already. Giacomo Raspadori gone to Atletico Madrid. Jesper Lindstrom gone to Wolfsburg, but he wasn't playing much. Jens Cajuste had gone to Ipswich Town, I believe, to start last season, and Natan gone to Real Betis in Spain. So in terms of their losses, I mean, Raspadori is important. Jesper Lindstrom was there, but wasn't playing much. Feels like they've built a lot, and that probably explains why they're so likely or the favorite to win a back-to-back Scudetto. With that said, I'm not as much of a believer in them. The Conte way is great for unders, but that's about it. I don't really think that they have a chance at win or they have a chance of winning again, but I don't think they should be favorite. So the best bet coming into show will be something different than that. I can tell you that. Moving to Atalanta, 463 million euros, but they are trying to figure out who they are without their manager, who was there a long time and performed very, very well. In comes Ivan Juric, who had been at Roma last year, also at Southampton, and none of those went well, including really nothing has gone well, and he was forever on the fritz. But he's a possession guy. He wants to control games. And we'll see if Atalanta can do that because that was not how they've been playing in many, many years. In terms of arrivals, 20 million spent on Odilon Kosunu from Leverkusen, who's already there. Nikola Kristovic, already mentioned, bought from Lecce. Lazar Samardzic from Udinese. Maldin Sulemana, left winger from Southampton. Anis Ahanor from Genoa. So they've spent a lot. They've sold Matteo Retegui, who has gone to Al Qadsia for 68 and change million euros. That's a big loss. He scored a ton of goals for them. Matteo Ruggeri gone left back to Atletico Madrid. Roberto Piccoli gone to Cagliari. Michel Odopo gone to Cagliari. Johan Musso gone to Atletico Madrid, though he was already there as a backup goalkeeper to Jan Oblak. That's a lot of sales, important sales, specifically Retegui. They can score other goals other places, but I am not really a believer in what I've seen here. Um, to win Serie A, Atalanta 20 to 1. I think that reflects where they should be. Top four finish, they are plus 250. Lazio outside them, but Roma cheaper price. Top six finish, Atalanta are even money, which makes me think someone from the outside is certainly worth looking in terms of that squad. Move next to Milan. They have done a fair amount of business. They're worth about 481 million euros, pretty close to Atalanta, which is a big surprise. In terms of their manager, Massimiliano Allegri, formerly of Juventus, is in, and he's going to play ugly, boring football, and we'll see how that goes in San Siro. What they've done, they bought Ardon Jashari from Bruges in Belgium, defensive midfielder for 36 million euros. Samuele Ricci, 23 million euros, defensive midfielder from Torino. So that's two big, big signings, the biggest expenditures they had were on defensive midfielders. Allegri ball. Here we go. Pervis Estupiñán has come in on left back from Brighton Hove Albion. He's certainly a up the pitch left back, more like left winger. We'll see how that works on an Allegri team. Coni de Winter in former center back from Juventus, 20 million euros from Genoa, and they have brought in Francesco Camarda from Milan. Actually, we're talking about Milan. If that doesn't make any sense. They sold Tijani Reinders to Manchester City, an important goal scoring central midfielder international from Holland. He's gone for 55 million euros. Theo Hernandez, who is rumored to be leaving, having big problems with the club last year, he's gone to Saudi Arabia or Qatar or wherever, maybe Al Nassr. Al Hilal, that's where he went. Malik Thiaw gone to Newcastle. I saw him get a red card live. Pierre Kalulu gone to Juventus, and Noah Okafor gone to Leeds. So they've done a lot of selling. Reinders was a really good midfielder for them, and they've replaced this goal scorer with defenders. I think they're an under team for a long time this season. I'll be looking for those as much as possible until the market fully understands that what Mass Allegri really actually is. To win the Italian Serie A, Milan 5.5 to 1, fourth most likely. To finish top four, minus 165, fourth most likely. To finish top six, they are minus 450. I'm not a believer. I'm ready to be against them and looking potentially go against them as much as I possibly can. Juventus comes up next, worth nearly 600 million euros, and we have one team after them. We'll start with Juve. They are trying to figure out who they are. Managers haven't worked. Keeping players healthy hasn't worked. And Igor Tudor is sticking around as manager, appointed in March of 2025, so midseason last year. They brought in Jonathan David, free transfer from Lille, was out of contract. Francisco Conceição was already there and was their best player, I thought, last season. Nico Gonzalez already there. Pierre Kalulu already there. And Michele Di Gregorio already there. So they haven't spent much. Departures, Ravello was already gone. Fagioli was already gone. Timothy Weah hasn't really played a ton for him, played a little bit on the wing. He's gone to Marseille. Alberto Costa gone as a right back to Porto, and Samuel Ambongula gone to Werder Bremen in Germany. So they haven't really added much besides Jonathan David. They have sold some players that weren't that important to him, but Alberto Costa was playing a lot for them end of season. So I'm curious what Juventus will look like, or Juventus will look like. Minus 175 to finish top four, minus 600 finish top six, and they are third most likely to win the Scudetto at plus 500. Last but not least, we'll get to Inter Milan, worth 706 million euros, the most by about 120 or so in Serie A. We have new manager Christian Chivu has come in, was took over from for at Parma last season, if I remember correctly, and kept them in the league when they were starting to get a little bit worried. Arrivals, they've bought Luis Enrique from Marseille for 23 million euros. Ange Juan Boni from starting striker from Parma. Petr Sucic from Dinamo Zagreb, a defensive midfielder. And then Nikola Zalewski, who's already coming in from Roma. So not a lot of buys. They sold Zalewski then to Atalanta. Valentin Carboni is gone on loan to Genoa. Alexander Stankovic gone on as a defensive midfielder to Bruges. Tyon Buchanan gone, the Canadian, to Villarreal. And Sebastiano Esposito always on loan. So that's not a big deal. They haven't maybe done as much as other clubs. They lost the manager, and they've had not really a ton of losses, though, to me. And I think there are a lot of big problems in the rest of Serie A. So that might give you a hint where I'm going with the best bet. But that does the 20 through 1, getting through all the teams in Serie A. Thank you for tuning in for all the season previews. I'm going to try to get a full weekend or I guess August 22nd and following games out there for all these leagues coming up tonight, potentially when I get home. We'll see what time that actually happens because I do have a Major League Baseball podcast coming out. My guy Munaf Manji on the pregame.com podcast network. But thanks for, of course, all the support. If you could hit me up on Patreon, patreon.com/real_G Warner. Best spot to get all my plays across all sports. Of course, we have YouTube at the real_G Warner, Instagram at the real_G Warner, and you can find me on the Betting the Pitch podcast and Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. 5-star reviews are huge, and would love you to subscribe on YouTube as well. We'll be doing the 1 minute reels as soon as I have some time or I'm at home for a weekend. I was on the boat last weekend, so that was a little bit damaging to my time frame. But it's time for the ultimate best bet portion of the show. So let's get that done. I think it's as easy as looking at who's going to win this Scudetto this year. I don't believe in Napoli. I think this is Inter Milan's prize that should have been theirs for, I don't know, the last 5 years, it seems. They haven't won it enough. They should have. I'll go Inter Milan plus 260 as the Scudetto winners, the champions this season. New manager, I don't think it's a big deal. Still have the most talent in the league, and I think they're wrongly priced as second favorite to win the Serie A title.